Hello, Nathan.
Hello, Sam.
Hello, everyone. Shouldn't just say hello to you.
Well, yeah, good point. Hello, everyone. How are we all?
They can't answer you. It's 2022. We're back.
We are back and we are ready for a big year, Sam.
And we
And
have,
today we are going to talk about something I'm a bit excited about.
yeah, and I'm sure it's a very original title because you know what year it
I
is.
think it's very original. I think it's very original.
What,
Not
what,
best 22 of 22.
well, not the not bit. What year is it, Nathan?
It was 2022.
And how many players are on a football team, Nathan?
Well, 23, technically, if you want to count the sub, the medical
Don't
sub.
ruin this for me. Don't count the sub.
Well, we had to do it this year and next year.
Yeah, we'll
23,
shithouse
but
it for both
23.
of them. Yeah,
Woo!
that's it.
24, we don't. Well, we'll just give up.
Well,
Yeah.
if we're still here in 24, podcasting, I mean, not alive.
Well, hello. COVID's got you.
That'll be a good result. All right, so yes, the not best 22 for 22, and the not bit, I guess, is because we realise this isn't going to be the lineup in round one. We know that, you know that. It's just a discussion.
And I think that's an important part too, is that this is not just just the best 22. It's what we sort of our guess for the first round team too, because the best 22 is obviously different to the first round team because that's allowing that all players are fit and firing and playing their best football.
Yeah, and a little bit too that like it's just an under the roof game at Marvel. We're not factoring in weather, opponent, anything.
Oh, yeah, true. Like it's a rainy day, so you wouldn't go in with two tools or stuff. So yeah, we're just picking what we think.
Best case scenario, round one.
Round one,
factoring in injuries and all that.
Yep, and in that, on the injuries and the health front, I guess we're not going to discuss Tipper because we don't see him playing in the early rounds.
In round one, at least.
We're not going to add Hurley to this conversation because we don't see him playing in probably till mid-season at best.
If at all, yep.
Yeah, and another one I think we would have possibly put in there, but we're not going to, is Reed because he's still not doing a lot at the training track. So
Reed,
just a few,
and Baldwin as well. We assume will be VFL before AFL.
So there are a few guys that went
anyway. So we haven't forgotten them. We're just not factoring them in because of the current scenario with them. Yeah. And I think for Hurley in particular, there's a bit of talk about him, but he just needs to be fit and healthy.
If he plays footy again, that's a massive achievement, I would say, at the moment. Yep. As for Tipper, all the reports we keep reading saying that he's just a fair bit off.
He's a fair way off, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to discuss our 22 plus emergencies, whatever that makes that. We'll be right for 2026 because we'll include the emergencies.
Oh,
there you go.
Ready to go again.
And then we'll take a dive around social media. I asked for some people's input on our Facebook page, Glory and Fame, but you've done some research, we'll call it, around the traps. We won't name and shame, but there's some pretty interesting points of view out there.
Well, there's just there's what I'm reading is some consistent things keep coming through, and I wanted to just bring them up as conversation.
Yes. And we will get to that. That will be after we tell you what we think, because that's what we're here for.
Well, it is our podcast.
Dictate the whole thing. Yep. So we're going to, I guess, go back to forward. We're not going to nitpick over our. We're going to go back to front. We're starting the back line.
I see what you did there, Sam. That was funny.
I'm not even sure what I did. We're not going to nitpick over pockets and flanks and stuff. I think, generally speaking, the positions on the paper don't really correlate into exact positions on the ground anyway. So for the argument's sake, defenders are defenders, midfielders are midfielders, forwards are forwards. Yeah. How they actually line up within
and who
that.
the certain player picks up will depend on, again, matchups and stuff like that. And
how they line up within that is opponent specific. So we've done our own, so we'll kind of compare the pair.
Yep.
I'll give you my back six, or do you want to go line by line?
Well, I think back six, because as we talked about just then, I guess that line by line that we're going to have a couple of,
it doesn't matter.
Like somebody I might have in the forward on the back flank, you might have on a back pocket. So that's not really. But we can discuss that. Yep.
All right. Well, shall I start?
Yeah. Ladies before. Sorry, Sam first.
My voice might be a bit high pitched. It's not quite that bad.
He does go a little high sometimes.
Sometimes. We'll get there, I'm sure. So, all right, back six. Kelly, Laverde, Ridley, Heppel, Stewart, Hind. Left to right in each line.
Well, yeah, mine's pretty much exactly the same. It's Kelly, Laverde, Hind, Ridley, Stewart, Heppel. So what I heard
Same
there
players.
is that, yeah, I've got Ridley on the half back flank, and you've got him in the back pocket. Is that right?
Yep, which again is kind of moot because they don't.
Yep, and that's right. And Hind is the reverse of that.
Yep.
For me, yeah.
Right, so we're the same.
How boring.
Yeah, that was a bit, wasn't it?
Well,
there any-
and I guess
Any
go.
discussion points from that? Who are we, I guess?
Well,
leaving
the
out?
obvious one there is Redmond's not in it.
Yeah, okay. Neither.
Red Dog.
Obviously. Red Dog.
Neither of those the Red Dog.
We'll come back to Redmond. Let's just go through the teams and then
Yep,
we will
fair enough.
discuss at length everything else. So in the middle, I have got Langford on the wing, and then I guess kind of interchangeable here. McGrath in the middle, Shield on the wing. If they were swapped, I wouldn't really mind.
Yep.
Which I think yours.
I've got Langford and McGrath on the wings and Caldwell in the
Caldwell
middle.
in the middle. Okay, so fairly similar again.
Yep.
My forward line, Stringer,
Mm.
Jones, Hobbs on the half forward line, and then Smith, Wright, Perkins with a bit of a question mark for the full forward line
Yep.
because I'm not sure.
Yep, where I've gone Francis, Jones at centre forward and Stringer on the other flank. And then Schnelling and Smith as my two pockets and Wright at full forward.
Ruck, I'd be amazed if anyone has anything that isn't Draper, Merritt, Parish.
Yep. It could be Draper, Merritt, Parish, Draper, Parish, Caldwell, Draper, Parish, Shield. You know,
But,
that'll
you
be.
know, for argument's sake, it's Draper, Merritt, Parish, which is actually really hard
Yep.
to say numerous times. On the
And then bench.
bench, yep, I've got Snelling, Cox, Francis, Caldwell.
Well, I've got Shield, Perkins, Cox, Hobbs. So basically, we picked the same team with.
We've
just
got the
a
same
few
22,
people.
just different positional.
That's embarrassing, isn't it? Sorry about that, people.
Yeah, it's a bit
Should've
boring.
just done a joint one.
Please don't click off. It will get more interesting than this.
Oh,
Oh, I should
will
have
it?
said too. Welcome to we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on Acast,
Oh,
I think
don't
is
work
how
halfway
you
through
would
that
say.
shit.
Yeah, no, I'm a bit late to that party, but we're not just on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, that's okay. But we are on a few different mediums now, which is good. Your emergencies, please. This is where we differ, I would think.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I've just picked a player from like each line that I think is next in line, I guess, in this. Like Redmond from the back line, Durham in the midfield, and then Waterman and probably the next one then is the backup ruckman and Bryan, because I think in emergencies you pick a backup ruckman, you know,
Yeah, you
because
gotta
of, I
have
don't
a
know.
ruckman, 'cause
Yeah,
it's
if Draper got injured in
specialised.
the warm up or the uniform, so that would be probably they're my probably four.
Okay, I've got Phillips. No, I don't. That's a lie. Sorry. I've got Bryan. Cutler, I went as a kind of a utility that can kind of play anywhere. He's probably the
Yep.
ideal medical sub that we're not
I
counting.
agree with that.
Redmond and Zerk Thatcher for that same theory of we back up in each sort of position, although Redmond, BZT,
I
both
think
defenders.
But
Yeah.
Cutler's a good one. Cutler's a good point because I would have him like if we were picking actual 23, like where you have to have a
Sub,
medical
but we're not
emergency.
because it ruins our title. Yep.
Yep. Then I would have him as my medical because he can play back, he can play on a wing.
Yeah.
He doesn't really need to go forward because we've got enough guys can do that if someone got injured. So
And then
he would be a good.
I've just got a couple other guys that I want to acknowledge that I haven't forgotten. I just don't think they're in that 26.
Yep.
Phillips is now the backup to the backup. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He may even play over Bryan depending on the opponent if need be. I've got Durham. I think Cutler as the utility just kind of takes that emergency spot off him. Guelphy, Ham, and Waterman. You have Waterman in your emergencies, was it? Yeah.
Look, I rate Waterman. He kicked 17 goals last year. I don't know. He's a tricky one because I don't know what role he played. He played as a small forward who was a lead-up forward, not that traditional small forward role.
Yeah, he's a bit of a unique size in that he's short, but he's tank. So he's not really a small
and he
forward.
plays a good lead-up forward role. Like
Yeah.
Marks the ball well
I-
overhead, kicks beautifully.
Yeah. Oh, love a big long kick like that. I had nothing against him. I think 17 goals. I think he was either 4 or nothing. So I think
Well, I think there are players in front
just
of
a
him.
little bit of consistency. Yeah.
That's all I'll say. And
And obviously, we have no
That's
idea.
okay.
Let's be real.
No, well, we do.
We'll compare the round 1 team to this. It's probably going to be
Truck
like
rings us all the time.
Truck, if you're listening. How long did that take?
Please ring
10
us.
minutes that took me to drop that in.
I think it's really interesting that with the 220 sort of 6 squads we've just sort of named there. For me, Guelphy and Ham weren't anywhere in it, and they would have played. I'm guessing,
Well, they were in
throwing
the
a number,
team.
10 to 12 games out there last year, would they? Those
Yeah,
sort of
Ham
guys?
in particular was, and I think Guelphy was in the team at the end of the year.
So I don't know what that is. I don't know if that says something about me or, if guys are going to quickly jump in front of them.
I think my thing is that it was a bit like Peter Wright that I think I touched on in our season review. If he's not playing because there's someone better than him, we're a better side, which is kind of redundant to say because, of course, if there's someone better than him, we're a better side. But
I understand what you're saying.
I think he'd be a really useful backup player. But maybe if we're going to be top 4 winning flags or whatever, I don't think he's in that best 18 or 22. And I think Ham and Guelphy fit into that as depth, sure, but I don't know if they're best 22 in a top 4 team. Kind of good.
I understand what you're saying. I don't know if I agree with that sort of analogy of Wright not playing in a winning finals or grand final or whatever, because I still don't know. I'm still not sure what his potential is. I saw something from him that I thought could be good, but we saw some also. I'm really interested to see if he develops and grows again this year.
Yeah.
Or
Look,
if he has the same year and you go, well, now I don't think he's going to get any better. Whereas I don't know if he can get better. That's what I'm worrying. Whereas I don't think Ham and Guelphy can get much better.
They can't really compare them as that in that scenario because they're such different players. Yeah. Just on Wright, if he can kick 35 plus goals and ruck, he's got enough value in the team. I think the problem was he kicked like high 20s last year, and 7 of them came in one game at the end of the year. So outside of that, it was pretty average, I guess. And I like him. He kicked 7 straight. I love nothing more.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I don't know. Like, was that like something that we'll see more of, or was that just a rare outside the average situation?
I mean, I loved every second of it, but yeah. We want success, so we've got to look at it that way.
Yeah, ruthless.
The next thing, so talking points from that, Redmond's a big one, and this will kind of tie into some of the social medias we've been looking at. That's not English. Some of the social media comments and posts we've been looking at. We both don't have him in the 22.
No, which is controversial.
Yeah, and it will.
And the reason we both agree on this, we've had this conversation, we both agree with this, is that Kelly is brought into the team to deal with small forwards and medium size.
It's a very deliberate recruitment. Yeah,
his job is to lock the down on players that kick goals. Yeah. Now, so he's in the side for me. They don't go out and recruit someone like that so specifically for him to play VFL. Yeah. So he's in the side. Boom.
100% with you.
Yep. So then who has to come out? Like, they're not going to drop Heppel, the captain, who is in the social media. There's a few people that think he should be out, but I think you've lost the plot. If you've got to have leadership, you've got to. Yep. He's a general. He's down there. He's playing the Hodge type role. He might not have the boot of Hodge, but he's pointing, he's shouting, and he's telling everyone what to do.
Yeah.
And you need that guy. So the only other guy around, sorry, I'm going on a rant here, on Redmond's height is I don't know.
Even though they're different players, though, they kind of sort of play the same role, him and Hind. Like, they're different shapes, different sizes.
Yep.
But they're there as a rebounding half-back. I don't really recall a time where I've seen Redmond lock down on a forward. Whereas Hind, I think, has a little bit. But I think you're right in what you said. Kelly was brought in for a very, very specific reason. He's going to play. You have
the
to think
games that
he's
got
gonna
away
play.
from us last year is when a small forward kicked 3 or 4
Yep.
goals or more.
It happened a lot.
And we didn't have anyone. And by putting Kelly on a guy like that, because we were putting Ridley on that guy, and that lost Ridley's ability to, intercept mark
Limited
and do
his
what he
impact,
does. So what my theory is that now Ridley will be playing that looser defender, where he'll come off the guy and come in and take the intercept mark, and then
Back to that
using
kind of
his,
role he won a best and fairest doing.
using his brilliant vision and foot skills, he'll then make the decisions.
Yep.
Anyway.
Well,
that's my whole reason why I don't think Redmond can be in the team. He might make the bench because in my bench I didn't have a backup defender, and I think that most of the bench, like 4 players on the bench, I think you might have a forward, a defender, and then 2 mids. That would be how I would imagine you set your bench up.
Yeah.
So maybe Hobbs comes out and he goes in. I don't know. But then Trucks showed that he likes to play the kids. So I would have thought Hobbs is probably, if he's fit and firing, he's probably going to play a bit of footy this year.
Well, yeah, you'd think so. He seems ready-made for footy. I'm not really sure how to structure this because I don't want to stop talking about Redmond and then come back to our social media things and talk about Redmond again. So I'm going to just scan. I did a Facebook post. I'll scan through that. Did you have any ones that you found talking about Redmond?
Well, I guess the ones were mostly about Redmond. The one I found interesting was just conversation about how a certain individual doesn't believe Heppel would be in the side at the end of the year because of his pace and his foot skills. And if that's what you think Heppel's in the if that's all you think Heppel can do, then I don't think you've watched enough footy or you don't understand how football teams work.
Devil's advocate, I fully want Heppel in the side. There was times last year when Hepp would fade, like games, he would be very quiet. But he also had games where he was unreal, 25 touches, controlling the game. That's what we need from him. You say Luke Hodge role.
Statistically, he had one of
he's
his
not
better
Luke Hodge.
years. He's
not Luke Hodge, but that role, that just control, lead. It's a good position in the ground to do that from.
Fill spots, get into right spots, replay.
Tough. He'll back into a
smart.
pack.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think.
Yep. No, he stays in the team.
Nothing on Redmond though, outside of that, from what you've seen.
No, just that Redmond, everyone has him in their team, and I guess that's the controversial thing is that we don't, and the reason we don't is because we can't see. As I said, he might be on the bench, but Kelly jumps in front of him.
Yep.
That's the whole theory we're going with.
Would be a lot more interesting if we didn't agree on that.
Yep.
All right, moving forward, I want to just grab a comment off of the Facebook page.
Yep.
And that was from Craig Borrell. He made a good point saying, hopefully Baldwin for Waterman, Bryan for Wright and Hobbs for Snelling. Nothing against any of those 3 players, but if Baldwin, Bryan and Hobbs are better than Waterman, Wright, Snelling, we should be going pretty well. He then named his best 22. I'll just pick a few points out of that. Did have Hurley in the back pocket. I don't think Hurley's back. Not at least not round 1.
I don't think he'll come back and play as a defender. I think
definitely not round 1. Yep. He had Kelly in his back 6, Redmond on the emergencies. He had Baldwin at centre-half forward again. I think we've covered that. Then he's not going to come into the AFL side that quickly.
No, surely they'll play VFL with him for a while.
Why I thought that was good. I agree in the sense of Waterman and Bright. If some other guys come ahead of them, Waterman and Wright. That's right. I've already kind of touched on Wright. Waterman's in the same boat. If we got players ahead of them, probably good. Yep. What I don't agree with there is Snelling. No, I think he's in our 22. He came third in the best and fairest. Like the coaches clearly rate him. I think he's in.
Why?
Why do I think Snelling's in?
Yeah.
Because he's just a little pest. He chases, he tackles, he can kick the ball reasonably well. He's capable of kicking a goal if he's in the forward line. There are a couple of times, maybe once or twice, it's not many, where he was under a bit of pressure in the forward line and was able to fake a shot and then kick a goal. Just a bit of composure and never stops trying. I like that. I like that in a player. They don't all have to be 30 touches and 4 goals a game. Like you can You can have a couple of those guys in your side. And I think if he's third in the best and fairest, clearly rated by the coaches as well. So I just think he's there. But agree with everything else Craig said there in that we probably could get some other guys coming ahead and we would be better for it.
Yep. I understand your point. I think the third and the best fairest is a really good thing to fall back on because, he's obviously pretty highly regarded at the club. You don't get third and the best fairest and then get kicked out of the team by round 2 or 3 the next year.
No, that's right.
Smith's had 2 years after winning a best and fairest where he stayed in the team.
Well, yeah, and the time he's gone out was through injury.
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying, actually. I rate Snelling. I like the way he plays the game. I understand the point that Chris is making is that, that's someone that if we become better, he gets dropped out. That's what we're sort of saying. But geez, we'll be a very good team by the time someone kicks Snelling out, I would have thought.
Yes.
The right one's interesting. Right for Brian. So is that what he's saying there? So we ruck. Brian becomes our tall forward / ruckman. Look, I've suggested that to you before, and I'm less and less into it because I think Wright is too much of a good forward to.
And a very capable ruck as well.
Very capable ruck. Whereas Bryant, I think, is a very, very capable, will be a very, very capable ruck, but I don't know if he'll be as good a forward. So
just with that, is there an element that we might be forced into an avenue we have to play Brian? Just for the sheer purpose that he's going to be looking at Draper going, geez, this guy's number one.
I'm never getting a spot in front of him. Yeah.
10 years.
It's a good question. I don't know.
Or do we just sort of get him to a point where he's worth something and then say, yeah, mate, righto, if you want to go, that's absolutely understandable. All the best, and we get a decent pick.
Keep him on long contracts.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. I don't disagree with the sentiment.
It's a challenging one because, I mean, if you looked at Melbourne and you said to them 2 years ago that Gawn actually, you could nearly say that what's his name, Luke Jackson he could nearly play more ruck than Gawn this year. Like the way he played those last.
Well, that's the blueprint now, isn't it? That's what happens. Teams win flags, and then you look at it and go, "Oh God, okay, that's what we have to do."
Yeah, and do we have does Brian? I don't know if I've seen enough of Brian. I've seen a few VFL and I've seen his one AFL game. I don't know if I've seen enough. I would love to see halfway through this year, say that maybe happens in a game and we get to see it and see how.
I would like to see it in pre-season. Have the two of them in,
well, that'd be better,
and just go with. My biggest concern is that I don't really want to see Draper forward because no disrespect to the man, he can't kick.
Can't kick.
He showed last year that he can go into the back line and chop out and mark. That's excellent. So I don't know if you have that setup of Brian and Draper and not have Draper playing forward. I don't know if that works. I think both kind of need to be able to play forward. Yeah, unless you can rest a ruckman as a defender, which seems a bit.
And on that, I don't think Gawn's a great kick either, too. To be honest, he's got an awkward ball drop too.
Do you watch their prelim against Geelong?
Yeah,
5 straight.
Yeah, but he does have an awkward action. He's obviously worked on it.
I think when you're that tall, naturally
if we went back
you
and
have
looked
an
at his
awkward
early
drop.
kicking, I reckon it'd be pretty ordinary. Because remember, Draper's only played 20 games, he's very early in his football career. Anyway.
It's something you can work on, definitely.
Of course, Ken. The other one I wanted to discuss too about the socials. There's a lot of talk I saw, and this one I can't comprehend. About McGrath going back to the half back or back pocket.
Now, I just want to preface this. Everyone's entitled to their opinions, but this one makes me angry.
But some opinions are wrong.
You don't. I can't think of an analogy off the top of my head. You don't get a number 1 draft pick who is a midfielder. No doubt he's a midfielder. Get 3 years, 4 years into his career and go, yeah, nah, sorry, champ, you can't really kick in traffic. We're going to chuck you back on the half-back line. Several things. One, you can work on kicking. It's a trainable part of his game. 2, if he gets put back on the half-back line, bet your ass he's going to be put in a transfer or a trade request within about 5 minutes. He's too good. And I know he can be a bit panicky and all that sort of stuff. That's definitely a part of his game, but that can be worked on. And in the meantime, you don't just go chuck him on a half-back line just to keep him in the team.
The other thing I would say to this is that I think his development has stalled a bit, which is what I think is worrying people. And that's partly because of injuries. The last 2 years when he's come into the midfield he's played his first couple of years as a half-back flanker, and then he was promoted, I guess, to the midfield. He's been injured.
And he's done longer injuries too.
Yeah, there've been long stints of injuries too, which affect, players. I still would argue there was some games last year and the games before where I saw enough to go, yeah, he's a good player. He can play that role. No worries.
We've seen it.
He's got a beautiful sidestep. He can absolutely fake and ghost people. Like, he can make them look silly. Yeah, I agree. His kicking can be a bit rushed, a bit hacky, but
he's still I'm
not worried by it. Yeah, like, I still think that's because he's learning his role and he probably just pressures himself. Oh, I better get on the boot. Whereas when he gets a couple more years of experience in that midfield and he steps around people and goes, right, now I've got him cruising, I'm going to hit this target.
He's a number 1 draft pick and he's 23 or 24. Like, he's not going back.
He's not going to the halfback. If he goes to the halfback flank, we've broken a player and we've sent his development backwards.
He is way too good. I don't care. I know he's got issues. He's way too good. Just while we're on blokes that can't kick very well, there was a comment on. Yeah, look, there's a reason I don't play AFL. I just talk about it. There was a comment on the Facebook page. Alfie Sanchez, thank you, Alfie. Shield will have a breakout season. Now, the emoji might suggest that he's being a bit facetious here. We did ask for controversial opinions, so it could just be that that's what he thinks and it's controversial. I really hope so, Alfie.
I'd love it if Shield had a breakout season and became the player that we paid for.
Because although
who doesn't want that at the club?
Was probably very critical of Shield. But far out. If he is able to push and become the player we bought, or the player we're paying for, we are a better side, much better side. And as much as I hang shit on him, it'd be great to see him.
On the flip side of that, if we get to say round 16, 17, and we're still very frustrated with him, what happens? Does he go back to the VFL? Does he go to the VFL and play, and we promote some?
I don't think you can.
Does Hobbs take his role?
Possibly. I don't think you can send a bloke you're paying $800K a year back to the twos.
Carlton do it.
Yeah, that's Carlton. We don't want to emulate them, do we?
What's his name? McGovern. Doesn't he get paid an awful lot of money to play in the twos?
But if teams we want to mimic, Melbourne, Bulldogs, yep. Carlton, probably not. He's contracted till 2024. So...
Oh, really? Oh, well, yeah, we better get some good footy out of him.
I don't know. At some point, it's hypotheticals. At some point, if you get to that stage, you have to make the decision of cut your losses and maybe trade him. We will lose because we paid 2 first-round draft picks for him. And if he's still playing poorly at that point, we're not probably going to get 1 first-round draft pick for him back. I think for that purpose alone, you've got to stick with him. He cost us too much. I think you got to really see it out and back the guy. And look, it means nothing, but all the media around Hobbs and how all the other guys, Heppel, Shield, McGrath, I think, all went and saw him. If they're close and a good group off the field and they're relaxed and they're happy with their teammates, then that will translate. He has had injuries as well this last year in particular. So there's the
year before too. I'm pretty sure he got an injury, didn't he?
So I never bought the whole.
I remember it was the year before he was flying. Like, he played.
Yeah,
about
he started
4 or 5
really well.
Good. Started really good. Well, and then he got reported. Did he get reported?
I don't remember.
And then he missed a game, and then he was rubbish for a few weeks after that.
This was pre-COVID, man. I don't remember a time pre-COVID.
Yeah, because I nearly brought him into my fantasy team because I thought, geez, he's kind of right.
Anyway, yes, please, Shield. We'll always back.
I want the best out of him. I want him to play, and I wonder too if he doesn't turn out to be a good player. Is that a bit of a knock maybe on our development, like how we couldn't get that out of him?
Possibly.
We have to accept some responsibility.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if he was a good player at another club, he just doesn't become a bad player when he rocks up here.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
All right. That is it from the Facebook page. There are a couple of other comments, but I think we have just about covered them. There was a particular individual that wanted Laverde and Stewart back in the forward line, which I just can't fathom.
Laverde and Stewart
in the forward line. I could argue
What?
Stewart, okay, sure, but Lav was rock solid in defence, so let's not mess with him.
The only way Stewart's going forward is if Reed actually starts playing football, because we need a 195 centimetre guy down there to play, unless Zerk Thatcher develops.
Yes.
Which the other point I wanted to make too is that I'm very excited about our back six and back eight, sort of, because I've been hearing such great things about Alex Rance and how he's
one of those guys I never thought I could like, but now I'm like, yeah, Rancy.
Yeah. Great. I think it'll in years to come, when we're winning flags, Sam. And we'll look back and go, yeah, it's something to say it loud. It can only be wrong. It's a bit like life. We'll look back, I reckon, and go, geez, Alex Rance was good for us when we got him. I'm sure of it.
Well, there's a lot of, not a lot of talk, I guess, anymore. Hawthorn, when they won flags, they recruited players for very specific roles and purposes, and that kind of pushed them and kept them relevant for a few years.
For a bloody long time.
Geelong, I don't get how they're still good, so we won't talk about them. Richmond, I guess, went about it where their CEO and their president, Peggy, is that president? Is that her title?
Yep.
Went, right, we're not going to do anything until we clear our debt. Cleared their debt, got a decent team, won 3 flags. It could be something we do where we get a guy in, specific coaches. We went, right, we're probably only 1 or 2, maybe 2 or 3 goals a game off being a good side, conceding those 2 or 3 goals. Rance, good energy, one of the better defenders of the last 20 years, maybe you'd say. Bring him in. Because it won't take a lot of improvement. We just need a bit of improvement in our defence, a bit of improvement in our forward line. Our mids are good.
Our mids are above average.
What was the comment? You had a comment on that, didn't you? Did you say that?
Somebody didn't believe our mids were elite, and they said if they compared them to Western Bulldogs and Melbourne's, they don't, not good enough. And I thought, well, Jesus,
no shit.
Those were the 2 teams that played in the grand final. So, if we're comparing them to the 2 very best teams, yeah, probably not, but we're not far off.
But you could argue that we're kind of in that next. We're in that next bubble.
Yeah, we're in the next. I would say we're like, if we talk about who came in the next bubble into Sydney, I'd argue, Wales is better than Sydney.
Geelong.
Who else? I can't think of who else played in the rest of the
Geelong.
Sorry?
Geelong.
Geelong, ours is better than Geelong. I mean, seriously.
You'd have to say that given how old they are now.
Well, that's the other really interesting thing about our 26 that we've listed off. The average age of this team, because Hooker's now gone out of it.
Yes, and yep.
He would have been the oldest player, I assume, that retired. Oh, we probably Ambrose and a few guys like that on our list.
Yeah, I think only Hooker and Hurley were like the only 2 above 30.
Yeah, so Hurley's now the oldest player, and Heppel would be the 2 oldest players on our list. Oh, the rest of them are 28, I would say, or 7 and younger. Like Merritt would be one of the older players now. He's about at 160 games.
Yep, him, Stringer, probably in the older bracket now.
Yeah, which is a very young team. So if we can get our shit together, we could be in the next 5 years a team that. This
is where I get not confused. Just really, I don't know what the word is. Argumentative in my own mind. I can equally argue that we'll miss the 8 this year and finish top 4.
We could win the flag
and be top 4. I'm fully accepting of the fact that we won 11 games last year and finished 8th. 11 wins doesn't normally get you 8th. So if we're winning 11 games again, we might finish 12th.
Yep.
So I'm prepared for that. If we win 12 games and miss out, great. It's a progression as long as we see some good football. But if we just get that little bit of improvement out of our back line, little bit of improvement out of our forward line, there's no reason why we can't. And you've got to have a bit of luck.
Going to be the draw. I know we've got a very hard draw coming. But
if you beat those good teams, good. Yeah. I'd rather a tough draw.
We're going
If
to
we're
be
gonna
playing
make
good
finals,
teams, which will put us in good. And then there's also the long-term idea of that is that if we play tough teams this year, then we'll be better for it again next year because
if we lose to them, we'll be lower. But I think the whole argument,
we've learnt
all that, the whole argument around win a final. What is the point of making finals on the back of an easy draw?
You don't want to just win.
Finishing 7th and 8th again, and then not being able to win a final.
Yep.
Have a tough draw. If we make finals, we've earned it, clearly. And then we give ourselves a best shot at winning a bleating final.
I don't want to just win a final. I want to win 2, but yeah.
Well, I think I want to win 4 or 3, depending on where we finish.
Yeah,
but we've got to get that monkey off our back. I'd love to do what Richmond did. Richmond went a long time without winning a final and then won the whole damn thing. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
But just monkey off the back. I'm pretty sure Carlton's the next worst in terms of time since finals 1, so even better. More incentive if you need it. And then,
anyway.
you can focus on all that without the outside attention, which they say doesn't bother them, but it must do.
I think we've gone off our not best 22 target.
Well, we're talking about the outcomes now. We've progressed into what our best 22 means. But you're right, we'll wrap it up.
Yep. Well, and on that, I think we should try and post on your Facebook page, a picture of our best 22. Our best, not best 22. Sorry.
Get it right.
So that people can see, because so far we've both agreed that we've picked the same team. We could easily whip that up so that we've just got those players all sort of sorted where we want them, and so then people can give us some feedback for the next week.
I will do a pretty graphic. I'm not going to post it until this has been out for a little bit, because otherwise it gives people no reason to listen to us waffle for 37 minutes. Thank you if you're still here, by the way. Any final thoughts?
Go Bombers.
Oh, that's pretty basic. That's fine. Yeah, go Dons. So you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and Acast. We are called the Glory and Fame Don Pod, colloquially the Don Pod. And when will we be back? What's our next pod going to be?
I reckon we could do one in a couple of weeks. That'll be 2 weeks shorter. The preseason games will start pretty soon. So
maybe post preseason, we might just have a look at a preseason game and review it.
There'll be some intra-club matches we can talk about where we'll dominate, no doubt.
We're only 6 weeks off the start of the season, so
so it won't be preseason and all that sort of.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you if you're still here listening. Thank you for your support. It means a lot to us, and we'll chat to you in a few weeks.
Thanks. Bye.
Go Dons.
Go Dons.